Hello and welcome to the Blueprint Roundtable. I'm your host, Chrissy Manzano, joined by chatty Chuck Brockman and moody Matt Lors. The Blueprint Roundtable is an ongoing series with our team and occasional guests. In each session, we ask the team a simple question related to trends in recruiting, talent, and go-to-market for discussion and debate. This week's question: how important is it for a candidate to send you a thank you note after the interview?
I'll go
Matt?
first.
Okay.
I'll speak from a couple of perspectives here. As a recruiter, I don't think it's important, to be honest. It's not something I ever looked for as a hiring manager. So if you're speaking with a recruiter, is it a nice to have? Yes. Does it move the needle? No. Does it show your awareness and your strategy and your follow up and your planning? To me, no, it doesn't. I wear the same hat as a hiring manager also. It doesn't hurt to send a note thanking me for the time. If you're going to bother to go to that extent, I would recommend also asking a few more questions that you didn't get answered. Surely something came up in the interview process that you have a follow-up question on, where you ran out of time to get addressed. But I have never declined a candidate. This is me personally. Never declined a candidate to move forward in the interview process if I thought they were a strong fit and they did not send a note. I know not everybody views it that way, but in today's world, it's almost, to me, it's just unnecessary. It's almost brown nosing to some extent, depending on the content of the letter. So let me pause, Chuck. I know I covered a bit of ground.
No, well, look, I'm going to disagree, but I think you made a good point there at the end, and I think you speak to, I mean, the naming is just dumb, right? We call these thank you notes. Like, no, nobody should feel obligated to send a thank you note. And hiring managers, like, get over yourselves and stop expecting thank you notes.
Mm-hmm.
All that said and done, as a candidate, you absolutely should routinely send follow-up communication to anybody you're interviewing with if you have an interest in continuing discussions for the job.
Yeah.
And that's whether you're interviewing for sales, customer success, marketing, or any role within an organization. Send follow-up. Don't rush it. You don't need to flatter, manager said, brown-nosed people, but you should have something thoughtful to share about a learning, a takeaway, confirming next steps, make it a recap, but send some form of follow-up routinely every step in the way for opportunities you're excited about. It is a great way to stay top of mind, to keep things moving, particularly with companies, hiring managers, even recruiters who aren't always super organized. Obviously, Matt, you're like really organized, so I can see that in your role, like it maybe doesn't move the needle. I'm a little less organized. I certainly try to follow up. I don't need to be flattered, but candidates, send follow-up. If you want to call it a thank you note, send a thank you note. Stay on top of opportunities you want to pursue and keep moving, and doing that in a thoughtful way. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be more than a few sentences, but it should be something tight and tailored to the opportunity you're excited about, in my opinion.
Okay, question. Now that you both have gone through that. So you're saying hiring managers, Chuck, on your side, you shouldn't expect it, but candidates, you should do it. So then shouldn't hiring managers expect it if it's good for candidates to do it?
Good point. I suppose, yeah. I mean, I suppose, yes, to the extent that like disciplined candidates in today's job market are routinely setting follow-up. As a candidate, you should know if you're not doing that because you choose not to, you may be putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage.
So and I think what I'm hearing too, Chrissy, is I was talking specifically like, here's a thank you note. Thanks for your time. Thanks for speaking with me. Yeah. But Chuck is more strategic thinking around, you should absolutely follow up. And when I view a follow up, it's like, hey, here's a couple of, it goes back to like, here's some questions I had. Hey, you asked some digging questions here. I didn't have quite the metric to support, wanted to provide those as follow up. Or if you really want to take it an extra step and beyond, if you're interviewing for a certain position and you're going to meet with different hiring profile managers and collaborative individuals, right? Like if you've got a personal friend or personal connection that you know is a referral, and you just met with like the head of CS, but you're interviewing for a sales role, but you've got a head of CS referral, say, hey, great speaking with you today, Chuck. I actually have a referral that's also a head of CS, very similar to your background. Feel free to reach out to them at any point during this interview cycle. I understand that you guys will probably do that at some stage. he or she knows to be expecting your call. Thanks again for your time. Like bring value to it, or bring insight, or extract value and insight from the note, as opposed to just thank you for your time, which is where I am like, I don't even read them.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
The
But
only thing I'll add,
is
though,
it a red flag
yeah,
though? Is this a red flag? So if I'm interviewing, and also let me actually throw this at you. Is it a red flag if a junior candidate doesn't do this, who maybe has no work experience, like straight out of college, versus a candidate that has 5+ years of experience? Does that matter?
yeah, it. We certainly have had some clients for whom I know as a fact, if you did not send follow up, they would not continue with you. So,
sure.
Well, but
um,
is it a red flag?
yes,
That's okay.
for some hiring leaders, it remains a red flag. Now, the question being directed, do I think it ought to be one? No.
Okay, that was
But yeah, I mean, definitely, it's not. Again, it's just at a certain level. I think my general guidance to candidates, if you are excited an opportunity, or you excited at the prospects of pursuing an opportunity, send follow up. And
yeah,
I was gonna flip flop a bit. I mean, look, we can still call these thank you notes at a certain level, right? I mean, you want to you should express gratitude out of the gates. I mean, there's no reason to break precedent and having that structure. But I think, Matt, to your point, you don't have much else to say. It's not necessarily gonna move the needle in any particular direction.
yeah,
But you should, if you're excited, you should have, as you said, open
yeah,
questions, an opportunity to recap next steps, to share something specifically that intrigued you or that got you more excited in the conversation itself.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's 9 times out of 10 going to help you.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, in kind of conclusion, and hearing both of you all say this, and it's getting my mind thinking, because I feel like I've kind of flip flop on it. Like I used to always be really big about it, and then I was like, people need to
Yep.
get over themselves, and then I'm kind of back to it again. But I think really what it is the challenges that we see on the recruiting side is that there's no standardized way on how people are hiring, right? Which is one of the things that we're trying to
Yep.
change. And so some companies don't care. And then some companies do. So for candidates, the message is confusing. And I think that's where people need to have a little bit of empathy. Like it's a good best practice for a candidate, regardless of the company, but they can have had a lot of success at other companies where they never cared about that. And they're also busy with other things. And so what I'd say would be valuable if you were going to make that like a red flag go, no go, is you should tell the candidate that you care about that, right? Or have the recruiter tell them, like, hey, thank you notes are important, like throughout this interview process as we go through it. Just want you to be aware of that. That's not giving someone a cheat sheet, right? That's saying, like,
It's
transparently,
seeing if
we
they're
care about these
coachable.
things. Yeah, like, and let me tell you, for our clients that have cared about that, I always told the candidates that, and there were candidates that didn't follow through, right? And that to me was telling that they can't follow and implement instructions that were very clearly pointed out to them verbally and in written format.
Yeah.
So, all that to say, I think adding a little bit, if you're going to, be stringent on those things, don't allow someone to guess in your brain what you're stringent on. For something like that, you're not, taking away from who someone is. Interview the person, don't interview for sociopaths. That's where a lot of bad interview practices come to play. But all right, well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for sharing your opinion, gentlemen. This was great. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah.